Well, once again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for the Coaches Convention in a virtual format from the Iowa High School Speech Association. My name is Tom Florian. I'm with the Iowa High School Speech Association here, and I will serve as your moderator for today's presentation. I'm joined by our panelists, Craig Ihnen of the IHSSA and James Weaver of the National Federation. And we have a great presentation for you today from both Dr. James Weaver and Craig Ihnen, and it'll be a great afternoon with everything that they have to discuss. So a couple of housekeeping items before we toss it over to Craig. You'll notice that the Q&A function is available to submit questions during today's presentation. We'll do our very best to answer all of your questions throughout the presentation. If we can't get to all of them, don't worry. We'll be able to view those in a transcript format following the presentation and submit those and post those to the IHSSA website after the presentation. This webinar is also being recorded, so you'll be able to review it at a later time as well. That link will also be posted to the IHSSA website, hopefully later this week, if not early next week. You'll also notice that the chat function has been disabled, so please utilize that Q&A function. You can find that button at the bottom of your screen, potentially the top of your screen, depending on what type of device that you are currently logged in on. So those are the housekeeping items. Again, thank you for being with us this afternoon. And at this time, I will pass it off to the Executive Director of the Iowa High School Speech Association, Craig Ihnen.
Thanks, Tom. This is a great day for speech in Iowa. We're excited for you to be here. This is our fourth Coaches Convention and our last Coaches Convention. We've been excited to present so many different topics in Coaches Convention. And do we have a speaker for you today? This is a nationally known individual. He has worked on national studies throughout the nation. We call him our own because he comes to Iowa quite often, speaks at our convention, gives us such great insight, and he has done amazing things with the National Federation of High School Activities. And our speaker today, talking about copyright and other things and other resources with the National Federation, is Dr. James Weaver, who used to be a coach at one time, and then he was a director of activities for the South Dakota Activity Association, and then also he was an assistant superintendent of schools for the Sioux Falls system, and now he is the head of fine arts for our nation. So I am thrilled that we have Dr. James Weaver with us. Dr. Weaver.
Thank you, Craig, and good morning, everybody. Looking forward to being here. I tell you, I've missed being in Iowa. It's my home away from home. So hopefully Craig will have me come back in person when all the pandemic is over. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so everyone can see what I'm going to talk about today. And this will be a little bit different. Instead of having the getting sick in a trash can talk on copyright, we're going to talk about a whole lot of different topics that we and resources that the NFHS has that can be beneficial for you. So those of you who don't know who we are, this is our lovely office building in downtown Indianapolis. I haven't been in this building for 8 months, so eventually I'll go back into my office. We have started in 1920, so we're about a little over 100 years old, and we're excited to oversee and assist the state associations with different types of activities, from the 17 athletic areas we write rules for, to the performing arts that we oversee, and that's my role in music, speech, debate, theater, academic competition, cheer and dance, and for some reason, boys lacrosse. So to dig into a little bit more of what we've got going on, I want to tell you how our country is broken down at the national level. You are in the great section of Section 4 in the great state of Iowa. Iowa is actually one of those states that bridges two different sections. They have the Section 5 group plus Iowa, and then the Section 4 group that Iowa belongs to. Why this is important is that if you are interested in seeing your representative, and for you on the NFHS speech committee would be Adam Jacoby in the state of Wisconsin as a Section 4 representative. So if you have any things you want at the national level, you're able to contact Craig and he will get your stuff over to the National Speech, Debate, and Theater Committee to be reviewed. A couple of things that we've been working on for quite a while is bolstering our educational content available for speech, debate, and theater coaches. One that everyone should take is the Understanding Copyright and Compliance. There is a speech and debate track, and there is a theater track that you're able to take that is specific to your needs. I know that Craig is a huge proponent in having everyone take this copyright compliance course. I'd highly recommend doing that. It is free, and you do get continuing education units for it as well if you're looking for certification units in recertification. So this is where we're at for this. We also have adjudicating speech and debate, which is a great primer course. If you want new adjudicators in your school, you're able to have them take this free course, complete it, and then you know that they have the basics of what it takes to be a speech and debate adjudicator. We made that course in conjunction with the NSDA. A couple of courses we have coming up, which I'm really excited about. By the end of the year, we should have the theater safety course. We were supposed to launch that over the summer, but with the pandemic, we were unable to get the video shoot completed with, how do you handle rigging? How do you do proper safety protocols and calling protocols? And how do you set up a light rig and those kinds of things? So now that we're in the active stage of making those videos, we should have that completed by here at the end of the year. I'm very excited for that particular course. For those of you who use a theater often, I think you'll find this is a great course for not only yourself as a director, but also any stage managers you have, any adult volunteers you have coming in, and for sure, any students you have that are working within the theater. It covers everything from the behind the scenes stage workings through the safety protocols of fire on stage, not making an explosive box in your chemical storage area. Also, what do you do to make sure that your costumes are flame retardant and working through trip hazards? And then about anything else you can think about in the theater safety realm. We worked on this course with our friends over at EDTA and some really high quality specialists in the theater world. Another thing we have is our our Speech Debate Theater Coaches Association. This is my selfish plug. It's a $20 a year professional membership. Comes with $1 million of liability insurance, as well as a subscription to High School Today, which is a professional development magazine. You also get online access to a bunch of other publications we have that's available for you on there. $20 a year, not a bad deal. And there are ways to bring that price down as well if you want to talk to Craig about those. If you are a policy debate coach on this call, we do offer a lot of material made by Rich Edwards. He's Dr. Rich Edwards is the debate coach down in Baylor University down in Texas. He is also the national leader in policy debate topic writing. And he's the lead author in our Policy Debate Quarterly publication that we have every year that breaks down the topic. As you can see here, here's all the stuff we have on the current topic of criminal justice reform. And so there's a lot of things on here you can use that are instantly available for your students, and all the PDFs you can download and use those in your classroom at no cost for you. Craig.
And James, I'd like to just say that Dr. Rich Edwards is from Newton, Iowa, and he grew up in Newton, and he's a University of Iowa grad. He is near and dear to the IHSSA, and he would help anybody. If you just say you're from Iowa for policy debate, you have a great in with that man. He will do anything for you. So just a little touch there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Rich is great. If you need anything, like Craig mentioned, reach out. He has so many resources available on the current topics. I'm just impressed by him every time I get to talk to him. Some additional resources we have that are available for you is we do a podcast twice a month on different performing arts topics. Some of them are speech, debate, theater related. Some are music related. Some are just general interest related, but some good topics there. We do also on our website about 2 to 3 times a month post professional development articles for you, ranging everything from, how to get my policy debate team moving, what do I do to encourage student athletes to participate in my theater program, all sorts of different articles in there. You can go ahead and check those out, and those are all free for you to access. One area where Craig is really good at nominating outstanding Iowa educators is in the Outstanding Speech, Debate, Theater, and Educator Award. Iowa is always represented very well in that award. And it's a 3-layer award. So once you're nominated by Craig in the High School Speech Association, you become their state nominee and the state winner there. Then you're put in a pool to win the Section 4 nomination. And if you are the Section 4 awardee, then we put you in for the National Citation, which is a one person gets this award. And it is a heck of an experience. And I know Craig is one of these winners, and several Iowa folks actually are National Citation Award winners. And I think that speaks very highly of not only the Iowa High School Speech Association, but also of the fine and high level of educator we have in the state of Iowa. Another way that I would go is the award we have is for Heart of the Arts, and this is a showing the personal side of what the arts means for students and programs and educators, and showing like what goes above and beyond and what actually shows the heart of the arts and being involved in performing arts activities beyond just winning, right? So there's a lot of things that exist there. So one of my personal stories on this is when I was in South Dakota, we nominated a special education theater troupe for this, which gave about 20 or 30 special ed students in one of our larger high schools the opportunity to be part of a production, be part of a play, have their moment on the stage. And that was a really heartwarming event and a heartwarming program that they have. And they were the Section 5 winner that year. So there's a whole lot of things that are going there. And so I really recommend looking at those arts programs or the awards programs. Craig has a lot of additional information on these if you are looking for more information or to nominate somebody for Outstanding Educator or for the Heart of the Arts Award. So one thing that's been happening all over the country is we've been moving to virtual contests in speech and debate, theater, and music. What I have on here, and this you can find on our website, is the different platforms that everyone's kind of using. And so if you're going to be crossing borders virtually, you may see some of these different programs that are being used in speech, debate, and theater, such as Classrooms.cloud, the NSDA Campus, SpeechWire, some custom-built platforms by the states, Tab Room, and then obviously, as we're using today, Zoom. If you're a music person as well, you'll see all the different things we have there for the music folks as well. I'm not saying that it is something that you need to go do virtually, but if virtual becomes something that you end up doing in your particular school, there's a lot of platforms out there that you're able to look at. And then we'll keep this list up to date as much as we can. As you can see here, this one is updated on October 30th. So it's about 2 weeks old, and we'll have an update coming up for that here in about another week. One thing that I always talk about, and I know Craig loves it when I talk about copyright guidance. We do have some additional guidance in the land of COVID-19. So one thing we've been working on that's been great, and Craig's got some additional resources for theater-specific resources, but it's trying to get music publishers the ability to give us permissions for state-level assessments. This becomes important if you try to use songs for your theatrical performances, or you're going to be using different songs in speech events, such as some interpretation events. So what we have here is kind of the guidance we've set up nationally as a standard. And so far, we've had several publishers agree to it, and our list grows nearly daily. So performances must be shared in a private setting as possible and must be viewable by individual link only. This is different than the Teach Act, and the Teach Act is a 2002 act that you can use for distance learning. So if you don't know about that, if you go over to our website, there's a whole host of things on there about the Teach Act, and really works out very well for speech, debate, theater, education, and what you can do inside of that extended classroom. But this would be for stuff outside of the Teach Act. So this is the performance can only be shared for educational assessment or state adjudication purposes. The recording performance must be used of legally purchased music or literature. Students must show the original sheet music at the beginning of the video. Adjudicators may receive a copy of this original, but they must be set to prevent downloading and printing. If there's an arrangement, which is what gets a lot of the speech folks, but Iowa is really good at this. So I don't worry about you getting permissions on arrangements, because I would say, honestly, Iowa is probably the #1 state in the country for being the most compliant in proper copyright in speech and debate and theater. So congratulations. And that is a hefty statement for me to make, because I don't try to give Craig as many compliments as he deserves, but this is one where Iowa really stepped above the national average in making sure that you guys are copyright compliant. Once the performance has been adjudicated, it must be deleted from the sharing platform. These permissions last all school year and expire in June 15th. Right now, we have on the music side, if you're going to do a musical theater or need a song for an interp piece, we have Alfred Barnhouse, Hal Leonard International, Kendor, Kate Jost, Randall Stanbridge, and RWS Music Company. We are working on more literature, folks. There's some legal battles that are going on there with the literature, so that's causing a bit of an issue, but we're going to try to make sure we get that resolved here before we get into heavy competition season after Thanksgiving. By the way, legal stuff is not with the NFHS, it's with other folks, just in case you're curious. Another big project we're working on is the Aerosol Study. Lots of things on this. I know we have a lot of information that's come out since July, and we keep refining that information as it goes. There'll be a third release of the Aerosol Study materials on Friday. Look for that around noon Central Time. But right now, where we are is we're in a month 5 of a 6-month-long study. We're using 2 independent labs from the University of Colorado Boulder and the University of Maryland. Our 2 lead researchers from these institutions are amazing. Dr. Shelley Miller and Dr. Elena Schrebrink are the 2 of the world's foremost environmental aerosol engineer scientists. So we're very fortunate to have both of them. What we've found is that singers produce aerosol at a similar rate as woodwinds and brass. The amount of aerosol varies depending on constants, vowels, intensity, and pitch. We've also studied speakers, and we've studied theatrical folks, and I'll show you their information here in a little bit. What we have found is that if you wear singers or speakers wear a well-fit 3-layer surgical style mask, it reduces the aerosol emissions. The big one here is this line right here is using this standard, such as the GB T32310 standard. That's been what has found to bring it down the most. Face shields are only effective at close range to stop large droplets. They do not prevent an aerosol cloud from being inhaled or released unless a mask is also worn with a face shield. What I'm talking about, those clear like visor face shields. The reason why those aren't effective, if you think of it like Pigpen from the Peanuts, that dust cloud that's always around him, and as soon as you turn and move, the dust cloud does not necessarily stay right in place. That's why those face shields aren't effective. Where they are effective is if you've seen the Disney Plus version of Hamilton and you watch the King George singing and speaking. That will be very effective with a face shield to prevent the splatter that is occurring from there. But when you talk about medium to long range aerosol projection, the face shield really is not effective unless you're also wearing a mask. The mask is actually effective for both. Same thing with plexiglass partitions. We get asked this quite a bit, if plexiglass partitions are effective, and the answer to that is no. Mainly because what happens is it can create dead zones where aerosol can build up because your HVAC systems are not designed for this. And so we will actually be talking about that in our release on a Friday with our conversation with our researchers. So I really recommend you check out that YouTube video when it goes public. Here's an example of what we have here for the APS concentrations with theatrical performance and singers. So in a theatrical performance, these are monologue speaking components. So think of your teacher voice, think of stage projection. That's what we're producing here. The gray is the unmitigated speaking, and the yellow or orange, whatever color that is the mitigated speaking with that mask that has the standard of GBT 32310. For anybody who can still see my little picture, this is the face mask style we're talking about. That box you can buy at Walmart for $4 for 25 of them. So it's actually, as you can see down here, you can see that it is very effective when we get into this reduction of between 80 and 90%. We're looking at the Soprano Singer. For those of you doing musicals, you can see that that is even more effective. One reason why we have a big difference here between the Soprano Singer and the baritone singer and the amount of overall aerosols they produce is because of how aerosols are produced. They're produced by a wet vibrating surface. And so the higher pitched singer or the higher pitched singer, their vocal cords vibrate more than what a lower pitch speaker or singer would have. So they produce less aerosols. So when the vocal cords vibrate, they take the larger particles and droplets that are naturally in your body. And then as they vibrate, they break up into the aerosolization of the particle, which is then dispersed when you breathe, sing, play, and speak. So that's very interesting to see. So one reason why the singers are so much more than the speakers is because you're projecting a lot more and you're putting more air through in order to get the sound to come out. So here's the theater component here. This is what the APS concentration over times look like. So you can see here we're not wearing a mask. It drops down significantly without it with a mask. Then we have this no mask, which you see looks similar to the masked area. The reason why is because this is a no mask, and this is somebody who has turned and talked to somebody else in a kind of a pantomime version. So you'll see that there's that. Then you see our background here. You see we remasked, and we are at the same level of background. We spike back up with a no mask. We mask back up, and then here is our baseline. If you were to read, we read a phonics book to do a baseline. So as you can see, when we're wearing masks, or either at a reading level or below in our theatrical production, which I think is pretty exciting. Here's an example I'll show you with, this is with singers. So again, musical theater style stuff here. And what we're doing here is we're going to pretend this P1 guy is our infected guy. Ignore this red one. We're trying to be ambitious and showing you what happens when two people are infected. CFD modeling is very difficult, so we just stuck with the one guy here. So pretend all these people are blue. This is your director person. This could be your pit director. This could be a stage person giving directions, however you want to view that. The size of this room is a 12.5 meter long by 9 meter high by 9.5 meter wide. So it's a pretty sizable room, but in the theater world, that's not necessarily out of the world of possibility. What we're going to show you here is this is what it looks like with risk assessments. And this on the left is without masks, and on the right is with masks. As you can see in the spaghetti model that you see all these teal colors, green, reds, yellows. Anytime you get to teal, we're talking here about a 40% and higher risk of infection. You see when we have a mask, the airflow in this room is able to easily take care of whatever particles do slip out of the mask. So this is a wildly big difference. You can see it more clearly in the ISO concentration surface. Anything that anybody who is covered in this giant cloud that exists here, they are at risk of infection. Anyone who is not here is not in a cloud with a mask is not at risk of infection. So if you look at this poor sap in position number 2, if this infected person is wearing a mask, their risk of infection drops by 85%, which is really significant. So that's something to really think about. So as we're doing theater or any sort of speaking activity, even though it is inconvenient to wear a mask, it is effective in preventing a mass amount of viral spread. So a couple things that we recommend on rehearsal space recommendations is we are looking at outdoor rehearsals are obviously the safest. However, it does get cold in Iowa in January, so that's not going to be an option for long. I know I have a family that still live in South Dakota, and it was snowing there yesterday. So winter is beginning its slow march towards us. So as we move indoors, we want to have indoors with elevated amount of outdoor air exchange from our HVAC systems. This is something you can talk to your facilities management department about to see what they can do to increase the amount of outdoor air that comes into the air exchange system. However, that would also mess with heating systems. So you want to be careful on that too, because you don't want to be 15 degrees inside your classroom or your theater. So then we will look at the next one, which is indoors with typical outdoor air exchange rates. So then we want to add some recirculation of air through a MERV 13 filter at a minimum, or at appropriately sized HEPA air cleaners in order to clean out that air a little bit quicker than what you can do. And that'll simulate an outdoor air exchange increase, which is important. And then lastly, indoors with outdoor air exchange rates from open windows, supplemented appropriately sized HEPA air cleaners when airflow is reduced or under certain outdoor wind conditions. Obviously, Iowa in January, you're not just going to pop the window open. So that one's out of the realm. What we want to really avoid is those closet scenarios where you're in a room that has minimal amount of air change rates and also has no windows. That'd be really bad. If you want to look at what the technical resources are, or if you want to refer your facilities management to a resource, you can send them over to the ASHRAE resources, and that is listed here on your screen. So our general procedures we found from this is masks must be worn at all times, and they should be multi-layer masks as well. So a dual layer cotton mask is effective. The most effective we have found is those surgical style masks with the standard of GBT 32610. Or a ASTM level 3 mask. Follow the CDC guidance on 6 by 6 foot distancing. Limit your rehearsal times to 30 minutes. This is really important because as we showed in, here, even though this is a 60-minute area, you could eliminate almost all risk with a 30-minute rehearsal. And then once you have your 30-minute rehearsal, then go ahead and allow for a minimum of 1 air change rate to occur in your room, preferably 3, just to make sure you're really getting that viral load, if there is any in there, out. Increase the ACH and HVAC's maximums, add HEPA filtration if you can. And as always, wash your hands, use hand sanitizers, and prevent uncontrolled release of bodily fluids. Our next steps will be a published study that's coming out in December. I just had, right before this meeting, I had a meeting with our research team, and they are going through all of the finalizations of publication. So we should have information on that final published study here coming up. With that, I have left exactly 5 minutes for any questions that you may have, and happy to take any questions on the resources that the NFHS has been able to supply lately.
Thanks, James. Folks, feel free to use that Q&A function to submit any questions to James at this time, and I will go ahead and moderate those for us.
And James, a couple questions I answered, this will be posted on our website. We will have this information on the website. I'm going to ask James for his PowerPoint that he'll send that to me, and I'll post that also so you'll be able to get this. What he shared with you all was some really good, and this is important to remember, this is guidance. This is not the law, this is guidance. And there's where some people get a little bit confused once in a while. So James did a great job of sharing, I think, excellent guidance for us to make things safe for kids and our people.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing when we talk about guidance, this is a really important point, Craig. When you talk about guidance when it comes to COVID-19, it's really important to follow your state and local health department guidance. They're the ones that know exactly what's happening in your particular municipality, your particular county, those kinds of things, your region. So it's really important to follow them. What we have here, what I've shown you today on the aerosol stuff, is the best practices based on the aerosol science that exists out there. There is a lot of stuff that has to go into those decisions. So this is a piece of that puzzle when you're formulating guidance for your students and your safety.
We did have a question come in, and I don't know the answer to this, and maybe Craig, you do, or James, you do. The question is, how long is a typical air change rate?
Great question. So the ASHRAE standard for a normal classroom, so this would be like your math or social studies classroom, is 3 air change rates per hour. So about 1 change per 20 minutes. That'll change depending on the size of the room, where you are in your HVAC system. So really your facilities management folks should be able to tell you what the specific air change rate is in your room, and then follow that. A good example is my wife's classroom had a 3 air change rate per hour. I didn't feel personally comfortable with that, so I bought 2 HEPA filters and put them in her room. They run all the time. Now she has an air change rate of 11 per hour. So that is just every about 5 minutes it's cranking through on the air.
And we did the same with my wife at Drake. We bought HEPA filters for her and up that air exchange. And so like when you're practicing with your students, you may want to think about getting one of those for your practice area, so that area could be a lot better for you.
Right. And we have guidance on our website. If you go to the NFHS website and go to the study page, we have guidance on like how to select an air cleaner and which one you should not. We don't give you a brand, but like things to look for as you buy one, so you don't buy one that's not effective.
Got a couple other questions come in here, and I'll kind of dictate these, and then we can move on to our next presentation. The first one is a specific example of the individual has a clear curtain in front of the podium, and there's 6 feet of difference and a HEPA filter running. Are they still okay to have students give a 2 to 6 minute speech behind it without a mask? What are your thoughts on that? Is it more of a recommendation or specifics there?
Yeah, so personally, I would say that's not okay, mainly because you're going to be building up that cloud, right? And then when you build that cloud up behind the curtain, one of 2 things will happen. It'll spill out, because think of respiratory aerosol like water, right? So if it's not going to stop water, it's probably not going to stop respiratory aerosol. The other thing that happens is if it does collect behind that curtain, the next student that walks behind that curtain is walking into that pen pal or that pig pen style cloud that's still going to be sitting there. So the best thing to do is the mask version, right? Now that's just the recommendation there. So mask is always best. But I understand that you want to have that open communication and that facial expression that exists in the speaking portion of what they're doing. You have to balance that risk, right?
Thanks, James. And then our final question here is, would you be able to provide the links to the sources on the NFHS website with the publishers that provide some of the exemptions for recorded performances, as well as some of the copyright info that you had shared earlier?
Yep, I'm actually putting a bunch of links in the chat for everybody. So you will see those here in just a moment.
And James, why don't you send those to me and I will post those on our page where we have the information from today's presentation. So
Can do.
James will send those to me and I'll post all that for you.
Perfect.
All right, but we have no other open questions for James. So at this time, I think we can turn it over to you, Craig.
Well, thank you. And James, thanks a lot. You can leave. You have to get to somewhere, I'm sure. So we appreciate, because what I'm going to say is we're going to be talking about how we're going to do contests this coming year and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to share a screen here real soon, and we're going to start from the beginning.
Well, enjoy, Craig. Have fun. Thank you, everybody. I really hope I get to see all my friends in Iowa here sooner than later.
Okay. Thanks, James.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Okay, I guess what I'm going to say to you tonight is going to be a lot of information. This will all be posted as well as the guidance tomorrow on the website. And so you should all be able to get this information a number of different ways. We're going to send it out by snail mail to everyone also. We're going to do a lot of things to get this information out. And you need to know that, yes, we are going to have contests and we can make this work, but we're all going to have to work together because this is an unusual time. And just yesterday, it seemed like we were back in March again, where we have spiked like crazy again. And we're dealing with all different types of situations. And so what we're doing is going to be, we're doing what we feel is the safest thing for our young people and yet still provide the IHSSA experience. And is it going to be like what we've done before? No, it's not. It's different, but are you teaching in a normal year? No, you're in a different year too. So don't grind on, wow, why can't it be like it used to be? But grind on, how can we make this work for all of us? And I know you're going to have questions, and I want you to call me and to write me. Don't do it tonight as much as do it in the next several days and weeks. So the survey we sent out, we found several things out on the survey. 75% of the schools, masks were required in the school. 76% required fine arts performances. 56 didn't require them for the athletic performances. 70% of the schools did not feel comfortable holding a contest of 20 or more. In fact, that grew higher. And as I went around to superintendents across the state, I found that no one wanted to open their buildings for 20-some schools to come in. Only 4% or less than 6 schools actually felt we should do a contest like we normally do. And 70% said, you know what, if you do a virtual, we'd be okay with that. Also, 93% of you supported doing live, smaller, in-person contests. 70% would say, you know what, if you flip the season, we're okay with that. 70% said we would support changing events due to COVID. And over 200 schools participated in that survey. If you did not get that survey, that means you have not sent us your email. And your email is what we use to send out that survey. So please send us your email if you did not get that. Many schools gave more suggestions via email and concern. I talked to multiple superintendents across the state, and there was overwhelmingly support that we hold a speech season of some type. And so we're going to do that this year, and there's several different things we're going to do. So what did this survey tell us? That there's a need and a desire to hold contests this next year. They're willing to have contests in any form, but we want to provide something for kids. Our kids need this mental aspect of contests. There is no desire to hold a contest with 20 schools or more. In fact, they don't want 10 schools. The superintendents and the administrations are very, very careful about bringing numbers into a school for in live. They're very excited about doing a smaller in-person contest, like they would with an athletic event, where one team comes in, or maybe 4 volleyball teams came in for a volleyball tournament in the fall. But they're not excited about the 20, knowing that whatever we set into motion at this time is probably going to change when we get to January. And so what we're doing is going to be fluid the entire time. So I can't stress this enough to you all. Please, please watch the website for updates. We will have a COVID page, and on that COVID page already is a whole bevy of information. In fact, resources on how to do streaming and how to do things. I'm going to put up information on how to do camera work in the COVID time period even. That web page is going to be an active breathing document, and I can't stress enough, check that every couple days for what's going to happen. And you are willing to have students mask up to perform. In James' thing, you saw in his presentation, you saw the importance of wearing the mask. You're protecting yourself, you're protecting kids when you wear the mask. Now, I know we have parts of our state where masks are not worn, and that is a local decision by the school, and we will abide by that local decision by a school. But I can't stress enough, as we head into the winter, how important and crucial are masks, and particularly in your rehearsal time periods, you should be wearing masks. And then the last point is knowing that this year will be different, but we can deal with this, and we can do this, everyone. We are the IHSSA. We find a way to make things happen. Other states try to do what they can. Other states are canceling speech contests, or they're having just a one-act play that is performed virtually only. We're going to have some options here that I'm excited about, that I think you all need to be aware of. So here's what we're doing. State debate. State debate will be held on its usual weekend, and it will be in the virtual format only using the NSDA campus. Now, what's important to realize is if you're in the debate world, this is what you've been doing all fall long. Now, this is also a great opportunity for you new coaches that, you know what, I've never done debate before, but now I don't have to travel. I don't have to get a room. I'm going to do it virtually. And so there will be information on the tournament posted in Tab Room, which is the debate area, also on the IHSSA website. So please consider doing state debate this year. We're excited that we're going to host this, and it's going to be like we had before. We're going to have rounds, we're going to have awards, and all that wonderful stuff. So an important thing to remember here is look to the website again. Constantly watch that website. Before we move on, I just need to remind you all, you need to pay your dues, your membership. A membership card was sent to your school. There's a list on our website of schools that have not paid membership yet. You need to pay membership because you cannot participate in a contest series and judged by IHSSA judges unless you do pay a membership. So please check that out. Be careful of that. Also, now we're going to go into what we're going to do for large group and IE. Large group and IE in 2001 is going to be a 3-pronged format. It's going to be in-person, virtual, or virtual hosted by the IHSSA. The in-person contest is one we're going to talk about. The in-person contest, you will not go to your district sites. You will host that in your school. You will bring in a judge, and you will have your students perform in person for that judge at your school. Now, there's a whole bunch of guidance on that. I'm just going to give you some really quick bullet points now, but please read the guidance. The virtual host is where you're going to be all virtual. You're doing all your material by a remote. You're recording it through a camera and sending it to be judged by a judge virtually. What James showed you is correct, though. That judge is the only one seeing it. It is not being streamed to everyone else in the community. The virtual hosted by the IHSSA is, I can't find a judge. I don't want to do that in person. I don't want to host my own virtual. We are going to have 4 sites across the state where you can also send your material to us, and then it will be judged and we will send you a format. So, general guidance. And all this is going to be on hard copy on the website tomorrow and also sent to you. In-person contest is held at your local school with only a couple schools, no more than 8, and you'll review the guidelines that are provided. For example, we're going to say if you have more than 1 school, you pot it. So for example, I have Bondurant Farrar for the first couple hours, and then I have Ankeny Centennial, and then I have another group. We keep all those things potted. The virtual contest is held at your school. You set up the virtual format. It's unlimited number of schools, and then you provide the platforms. A lot of you did this last year for our state contests. And if your school selects the virtual contest format by the IHSSA, review those guidelines. It's very similar. So guidance for contests this year. You will still be assigned a district contest site. They're going to be our overall contest manager for you. Even if you're doing an individual in-person contest, you'll be assigned that site. That district site will then send you a note that says, what are you doing? You will then inform them, and then you, after your contest is done at your school or the virtual, will send your Division 1s to that contest site, and they will send it. I have a checklist for you. We have this all written up. Also notice that this year there's no green or pink cards, but you still must register. Please notice if you're hosting virtual, here's this, and here's this, and then here's the important thing. Since you're paying for the judge, if you host your own contests and you buy and purchase the judge, your entry fees are only 1/2 this year. If you're going to a site and you don't pay for a judge, your entry fees are regular rate. If you go to the virtual contest hosted by the IHSSA, they are virtual rate. If you, or virtual rate, I mean regular rate, excuse me. If you are going to a contest and you provide a judge, even though it's not at your site, then your entry fee is only 1/2, because our district people are still doing work, our state people are still doing work, and they need to have some reimbursement for the work that they are doing. Now, here's the next big thing. District contest is not just one day. District contest can happen anything between January 18th through January 27th. So I don't have to do it on that Saturday. I could do it on a Thursday night. I could do it on a Tuesday night. And I could do my virtual contest or my in-person contest on those nights, because that might work out better for your school. And notice the different dates. We have a 10-day period, basically, when contests can be done. Also important to realize that during contests, district contest is a one judge, and they can judge all of your things from your school. And also, one-act play is only one judge this year for district contests. The state contest, you have to provide 3 judges again, just like you do, because we're going to have all state nominations, and we'll go through those things, and that's on the checklist, and they'll be sent to you for your state contest. However, There's no all-state festivals this year. There's all-state recognition. There will be an all-state program. There will be banners for your school to purchase. There will be t-shirts and medals, everything but the festival. The reason is neither one of the facilities that we use are willing to host our festival with the numbers that we bring in. And that's just a statement of fact. Now, what we're going to look at and we're excited about is the possibility of, we hope by next summer, things are better. We all got the vaccine. We are feeling great. We are going to do an encore performance of anyone that was nominated, large group or IE, and we will have a venue, and it will be probably outside with tents and a lot of things like that, where we're going to perform all state acts, and we're going to call it the encore of all state performances. More information on that later, but we have to see how this year goes. In-person highlights, you still have to register. Talks about the payment, how you hire the judge, you hire the judges. A judge's video will be available to show at the local site. It'll be posted ahead of time. We're going to have multiple videos and tutorials, ballots and comment sheets there. You need to inform your district manager if you're doing an in-person, and if other schools are coming, they're going to be checking off. Additional things of this, contest centers, we talked about CDC guidance, drawing events will be sent by the district contest site. The in-person site, judges, again, no more than 6 feet apart, at least 15 feet away from performers, no one around them. A list of judges can be obtained from the office. Right now, we're seeing a maximum of 2 adults with each student performance. However, local policy could determine if it's more or less. And also the local policy has the option to allow no spectators, particularly if you have a concern about a number of people. Spectators at the discretion of the local policy. Now, there was a question earlier on about how the governor's new thing about sports. It does affect us a little bit, and yet there's going to be another guidance from the governor on Friday. In fact, there'll be another guidance in December, and that is why you need to look at our website over and over for information on that. Okay, the in-person contest or the local, you must, and you know, setting up the in-person or local, you have to do these things. Excuse me, I got someone trying to text me. The local site, you know, what you do here, inviting other schools, you file the guidance. Again, you read the guidance that we have on this. We're just going through this. And then setting up the local site, all that. Go to district performance can be done on any date. It doesn't have to be done on the date we usually host. I gave you that break. The state, all state nominations give it. And again, something else there. You must inform your district manager if you're going to do a virtual one, just like you did that. And then you can do it synchro or asynchro, where there's a lot of things. Now, a question came in before, how, if I do a in-person contest and I have some kids that are quarantined, can I do theirs virtually to the in-person contest? Yes, you can do a hybrid of both in the in-person contest. Coaches, if you're doing virtual, please be willing to set material that allows recordings or video conferencing of material. Also, it should be a private invite room only for the judges only. And gathering and contest materials allowed. A recording of it can never be made. Performances can be done by students in separate rooms. In other words, you could have a Zoom type of performance. And we're going to have guidance on that for judges on that. Face masks are encouraged to be worn, and per governor's mandate, they should be required now. And the event may be recorded for the judge only in the virtual format. If you wish to stream, you need to get appropriate licenses, and you can purchase those, and I'm going to have some information on that. This is a camera work about what you can do for a virtual. What we're going to say is it's a one camera static view. You can use an extra microphone to get better sound, but it's only one camera and there's no editing. The only areas you can do multiple cameras and edited are short film and TV, since they already do that. There's no post-production of editing, and you can go through that a little bit later. The virtual contest held by the IHSSA, again, all the virtual things there. Again, all the virtual things there. So here's a quick review about what we're going to do, and we're going to try to answer questions because I want to be done by 5, and we're going to be done. There's 3 ways that we're going to do contests this year. Smaller in person, no more than 6 or 8 schools, or just your school. It could be just my school, Cascade, and no one else. Or it could be one other school, because they have had volleyball matches where they invited another school in. That's no different than inviting a school in to be judged for a speech contest. Virtual contests hosted by the local school could have unlimited numbers. Virtual contests hosted by the IHSSA. We will post those 4 sites where those are going to be and how you get information to those on the website towards the end of this month. Now remember, membership closes at the end of November, so you don't know where you're going for district contests or whatever. Your district contest site is not a site that's hosting. They're just a site that's doing tabulation. Now, they could host some people, but what they really are is a tabulating site. You are the one that is hosting in one of those styles. The guidance for all 3 is posted on our website. You'll be signing those sites in December. You can start working on contests at any time. In other words, after this meeting, you could start setting up some people that you want to have contests with. Or you can say, you know what? I'm going to host 4 individual contests by myself. I'm going to hire my judges now and be done. And call the IHSSA if you need judges. We'll have all that information, and contact us for questions. You know, it's going to be a great day for speech in Iowa. And I'm going to get to questions here because I got some time for questions, and we're going to do those. And Tom, you're going to have to help me out if you're still there a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig.
But what I really want to say to you all on this is we've had so much taken away from our students. This is a way for us to give something back to kids. The IHSSA has never been so much about contests. It's been about every one of you coaches working with kids on a Tuesday night after school or a Wednesday morning before school. That's where we have gained so much. And that is what we need to continue doing. And we need to give kids this opportunity. And is it going to be more work for you? Yes. And can you do this? Yes, you can. All you need to do is call and we'll talk through some of these things. So Tom, where are we at?
We have quite a few questions coming in, Craig, so I'm going to kind of get to it here.
And then also, Tom, we can say this too. If your question's not answered today, contact the office in the next couple of days. You know, you don't have to do this by the weekend. This is January when this is done. We got plenty of time. Okay,
and I'll
Tom.
also add on to that, the questions that are submitted through this Q&A function, we will be saving those. So the ones that we don't get to, we'll also be able to go back and answer those and provide an FAQ on the website as well. So definitely submit your questions all the way through the end of this presentation. And like Craig said, feel free to submit them via email as well. So Craig, the first question here for some clarification, when you say virtual, does that mean a pre-recording or is it live via Zoom or another web streaming platform?
It said that it can be both. It's
Okay.
both. It's async or sync, but it's both.
All right. So that, and then the next question was about that as well. It can be either or, live or recorded. To clarify, we're not flipping events. We are sticking with large group first and then individual second.
Yes, and the reason for that was there was just so many conflicts, and also we had real concerns about running our large group up against state basketball in the very same time that girls basketball and boys basketball were happening at the very same time. And in a COVID time period, it just wasn't going to work. And so we decided we're going to keep that. We're doing as much normal. It's the same amount of events as possible.
The next question here is, what is your understanding about the governor's policy on schools online and their ability to hold extracurriculars? So if a school is online with a waiver, are they then disallowed from participating in extracurricular activities?
They're disallowed from participating in live in-person activities. They are not, you can participate in virtual. So you could have a practice via virtual, or you can even submit and do contests via virtual. So this is where the virtual part is important. If you get that waiver and you're shut down, they're saying you shouldn't be at school in person, but you can participate virtually. And the governor even says that, and excuse me, it's not the governor, it's the Department of Education. The Department of Education even says you should be doing virtual.
All right, so clarification, I believe the answer to this is local decision, but who counts as a spectator? Would a coach count as a spectator if they're watching student events?
No, coach does not count.
All right, what if schools are split on performance options? Some students want to go virtual, some in person. What should the school do?
They can do it. By all means, I talked about that. By all means, do it. You know, we already are kind of doing that with our short film and TV. Those are truly virtual events already. So if you have an ensemble acting that wishes to go virtual, all you have to do is show that virtual presentation to the judge that is in the live performance that day.
What additional training, virtual training, might be available for judges? There's a person here who's interested in getting more people certified to become available. Are there going to be any other judging certification options?
Yes, you can do that. All you have to do is contact me and I'll get you all set up with that.
All right. Next question here is, there are a lot of students who are currently quarantined. How does this affect student performing at contest situations? If they cannot perform on the day of the contest with their group, can that group have a makeup date? Can we do a different date? I know you mentioned there's a long term of dates for when a contest can occur, but what's the makeup policy, so to speak?
Yes, we would allow that this year. We're going to have a lot of flexibility on that. So let's say I have all my groups perform but one can perform later. Yeah, absolutely, we would allow that. Or we would do this. You have that group perform live and have that person as part of that group in a monitor next to the group. They could do it. Or you can do this way too, is you could do where there you can have a sub. We're going to have unlimited subbing this year, so that, for example, I have a person that's in two other events. Can they be in a third event this year to sub for someone that's gone? Yes. So the quarantine should not be an issue for you.
Okay, can you clarify that all categories are still a go?
Yep.
Okay. This person's question is, if they have an in-person contest, must the students wear masks during performances? They are mask mandated in class, but recently they produced a play without masks. Just wants clarification.
That's a school decision. You know, and we say from our office, we encourage you to wear a mask, but we're not saying you must wear a mask. That's going to be your school's decision if you want to do that. Now, however, if I go to a contest site and that contest site, and I'm one of 2 or 3 schools there, and that site says, our school policy is everyone wear masks all the time, you have to be in masks. The school sets policy on that. Now, the other aspect on that it's important to remember too, is that, you know, we have athletic groups not wearing masks, but then we have fine arts people wearing a mask in performance. You have to make that decision. And you have to, you know, just like James said with the question about the shower curtain and stuff, you have to kind of make that decision what am I going to do here on this?
Craig, we did hit 5 o'clock here. We still have quite a few questions in. Do you want to keep going here? Do you want to
Let's keep going as long as we can here.
Okay, very good. The next question here is, if they hire their own judges to come out to their school, do they have to be different between district to state?
No, but I would make that difference if I could, just because you don't want to have the same comments again. But we have the same judges at state, from district to state sometimes before, but they do not have to be different this year. This year's different.
All right, and categories are listed on the website, correct?
Yep.
Yep, categories are listed on the website. Do they have to secure any special type of royalty licensing to do virtual options?
Depends on what you're doing. And please have that person contact me. But if it is a virtual option only to that judge, no. But if it is done something where it's going to be streamed and other people are watching it, now you're in a whole different ballgame, and you've opened up a door that you have to really protect yourself with.
All right. What is the date range for individual event state?
It'll be on the guidance. It was listed there today.
All right. So just refer back to that information. Can they host a competition over the course of multiple days, or does it need to be on just one night? I believe you said it could be multiple days, correct?
Yep. In other words, I can get these kids together here and this night with this judge and another night with another judge. Absolutely. Just we want it in that 10-day time period.
All right. Can coaches who also judge help judge contests at other sites, large groups specifically?
Absolutely. By all means, we encourage you to do that. I had a question today from one of the contest managers saying, can I judge another school's event that come into my site, and that judge or coach judge it for my kid? Yes.
All right. Next question here is, imagine that we are forced to be virtual through January and February. Could a mime be allowed to turn into an extra ensemble acting spoken over Zoom or another video platform?
No, we're doing the same events. The events are the events this year.
All right. And when do they have to decide which format they are doing between virtual and in-person? Is there a deadline?
No deadline.
Okay. All right, I'm just looking through here. Is there a list of coach email addresses posted on the website, or should they just reach out to you for individual contact information?
Reach out to me. We don't put that up there for security purposes.
All right, makes sense. How would someone register for an in-person contest with some other schools? How will they decide who hosts who, and et cetera?
Well, that's where you would kind of talk to schools around your neighbor. I'm not going to reach very far. I'm going to maybe have a school that's like down at Clark. Maybe I get Murray and one other school. And those are the 3 schools that are doing there. And that's where you kind of reach out to the other coaches. There's a book in every school that has every coach listed, but you can very easily send me an email and say, Craig, who's the coaches? What's the contact information at these schools? And I'll give you that information.
Okay, yeah, we had another question here that says, how will we know what schools around us are doing and what kind of contests will they be listed on the website? Definitely reach out.
We're not going to do that. That's a security issue. What we will do is we will, you can call and you talk to your district person, but the numbers, that database would change so much because, all of a sudden someone says, no, our school's not going to allow it. And then we had it a different way. That's not going to work.
If they hypothetically wind up going virtual and are unable to meet, but they want to submit a virtual video, how can they do that when the students can't be in a group together? How should they gather to do a virtual performance when they should still be virtual?
Well, there's where you're going to use like Zoom or one of those platforms, and then you're going to record the performance, and they're going to be in the Zoom boxes, and then you would have the person hit the screen. We have already had people do theater productions this fall doing that.
All right, just kind of the Brady Bunch window style idea.
Yeah. Well, but then what you do is, actually what you do, Tom, is you you have the person who's speaking, they take the full screen, and then the other person jumps in when they speak and that type of thing.
All right. Can quarantine students perform with groups recorded in an online streaming format?
Yes, because they're still virtual.
Okay. Yeah, I'm guessing the question there was like, are they quote unquote sick, right? If they're taking a sick day, are they still able to participate in a
Yes.
virtual way? I would imagine
If
so.
they're quarantine's not sick, they're just being held out.
Yep.
And we've already had that this fall with plays where some kids were quarantined and they still performed in the play through a video screen.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Next question here is, do you want them to limit number of students in an event for safety? For example, instead of 8 students in musical theater, only have 3.
Yeah, and that's part of our guidance too. We think it's better to do maybe some smaller groups this year, but not necessarily. If you want to do 8, do 8. If it was me, I would be looking at doing some smaller groups this year. I would be very much about potting my groups, like I'm doing in classroom and things like that.
All right. Next question is, will state contests require 3 judges or just 1? Like
I said
district?
that before, 3 judges, and it's in the guidance. Because we have to have 3 just because we're going to have all state nominations out of the.
Yep. Next question is regarding camera work. Should the camera be static when recording your group, or are they allowed to move around?
That's in the guidance too. It says it has to be static.
This person just wants clarifications that performances can either be live or recorded. If so, what about the sanctity of improv with the idea of post-production?
I'm going to trust IHSSA coaches aren't going to cheat.
I am fair. That's a fair response. Absolutely. Are the usual parameters of the number of students in an area, how many events a school can enter, still the same?
Yes, we kept everything the same on that. So when you enter, it's just like every other year, except you don't have to do pink and green cards.
Next question is, if they go live in person, are kids required to have a mask on during performance? I believe that's a local decision, correct?
Yep.
Yep, local school decision. How do you draw for rate?
Although, you know what? It may not be a local decision in January. It may change where all of a sudden we get a mandate that says everyone's in mask through all performances.
Just continue to follow the guidance that comes out. Be sure to check the IHSSA website regularly. How do you draw for radio and spontaneous over a Zoom call?
We did this very well already this year, and that guidance will be given to people that are doing that. If they're doing a virtual contest for IEs, it's a very easy way to make it happen, and it worked very well last year.
All right, next question here is clarification. Are students who received 1 ratings for IE districts last year able to perform the same piece as last year?
Yes, that was on the website. Yes, you can.
All right. Next is a clarification. If students are masked, will there be leniency in regards to facial expression, et cetera, certain categories?
Yeah, and we're going to have a whole guidance for our judges on how to judge students. Their voices are going to be muffled a little bit, that type of thing. But, there's some masks that you can really speak well in. I was at state volleyball the entire week last week. I wore my mask the entire time. Guess what? No one had any problem understanding me, and they all could tell when I was smiling and laughing. So we're going to have some guidance on that, and there's going to be videos on that for judges. Yes.
All right, next question here. Yes, hiring 3 judges for state. Absolutely. Judges certified. Yes, they must be certified. Are we sticking to normal judge rules for when they can judge 2 state first, then district? Speaking of new judges.
Nope. Novice judge can judge district this year.
Yep. Would it be possible to do an event such as Readers Theater on Zoom with each student performing in their own space, such as if we go virtual and cannot meet to perform in person?
Yes, by all means. I hope you do. You bet. That would work great. And, that's a way to do it. And then you don't have to worry about being in person.
Yep. Next question was, how do you draw for improv? You mentioned that, similar to radio.
Yep.
let's say that they have a district contest with 3 other schools and 1 district judge, then where do they go for a state contest with 3 judges, the same 3 schools that have a state contest with 3 judges?
That's up to those schools. See, this is where we talked about where schools are going to have to do a little bit of work this year. That's up to you. You have to decide, I'm coming here for a contest, like it was Tammy's question. I'm coming here at Lansing for a contest with 3 schools, and then I can do the state again at my own school, or I could maybe find someone else that is maybe doing state at another school.
Next question is, if there are smaller groups, can schools enter more than 3 events in a category?
No, the category limits are still the same.
Okay. This question is, could they have a socially distanced audience during improv when recording since there isn't a royalty issue?
Yes.
Okay.
But here's the problem. They better make sure it's only just that non-royalty thing.
Next question is related to touch. Can improv actors or just any actors in general touch each other during their performances? What is the recommendation there?
Yes. Okay. They can touch, but this is not the year to do the kissing scene for ensemble acting. This is maybe a year that we rethink how we block a little bit. I mean, I desperately want to have Thanksgiving with my big family like I normally do, and I can't this year. And so I'm making choices. We make choices as directors, and we can make really positive choices this year too.
Next question is, any possibility of considering to do Critics' Choice with recorded performances?
No, because the way All-State is going to be selected is going to be so unreal in respect of, what people are going to be choosing and different things like that. No, we will not do anything with those Critic Choice banners. Those banners and sweepstakes trophies we won't have anything with that this year.
All right. Next question is, are you allowed to use the mask with the clear mouth area?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
If they are hosting a performance, can they use microphones for students?
If they're taping a performance, we said they could use microphones, but they have to use a static camera. Yes.
Okay. Got 2 more questions here. Will there be another virtual judge certification?
Tell Laura that she should contact me, and then I'll give the information on that, because I have that's going to be all individual now, basically. Yep, but there could be another one in December, perhaps.
Okay. How much does it cost to have a judge come to an in-person contest?
In the guidance, we kind of give you some breakdowns, but usually it's about $20 an hour or thereabouts, so if they work 4 hours, it's like $50 or something like that. But here's the beauty of this is, I have an entry, my entry is like $300. If I hire a judge for $50, I get to take off $150 off my entry this year.
All right. And the last question is more of just a just comment. If they do an individual in-person contest, do they avoid all the virtual entanglements, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I would see, this is the beauty. No other state's doing what we're kind of doing on this, but through all the work I did on this, I mean, I went to state after state. I went to a lot of people. I found out that we're okay to have one little contest, and it's no different than a volleyball team coming in and doing a volleyball match. If they can do volleyball, we can do a speech contest with one other school. And how safe, and it's so good for kids that I have a judge come in with a mask, I'm set, I'm 10 to 15 feet away, and I can give written and oral comment to my groups, and I got that personal feeling again, because that is what you guys wanted. And this is going to work. And also, if you're uncomfortable with that personal intact thing, then guess what? You can do a virtual.
Well, Craig, we've answered all the questions here. It's 5:15 here, so Wanted to appreciate your time and be respectful of everyone else's time here. So I'll just toss it back to you to close.
Well, thank you, everyone. And the biggest thing I want to say to everyone is I really appreciate you all being here, being a part of it. We can work through this together. It's just going to take some time, and I know we can make it happen. All you have to do is be positive. We're providing something great for kids, and this will work. Thank you. And, like I said before on the shared screen, it will be a great day for speech in Iowa. Working together, we can make this the best experience ever. This will be the year that everyone will talk about the rest of their lives. Thank you.